The small town of Greystone had always been quiet, a place where everyone knew each other and strangers stood out like a sore thumb. It was the kind of town where people left their doors unlocked and kids played outside until the streetlights flickered on. But all that changed when the shadows began to move. Jenny Porter had lived in Greystone her whole life. At 16, she knew every nook and cranny of the town. She knew the gossip, the secrets, and the stories the elders would tell on Halloween nights. Stories about the Shadow Men and their leader, the Hat Man. But those were just stories, until they weren't. It started one crisp autumn evening, as Jenny was walking home from her friend Sarah's house. The sun had dipped below the horizon, and the shadows grew longer, darker. As she turned the corner onto Maple Street, she noticed a figure standing under the streetlight. It was a man, tall and thin, wearing an old-fashioned hat that cast a deep shadow over his face. Jenny quickened her pace, but the man didn't move. His stillness was unnerving, and she felt a chill crawl up her spine. She glanced back once more, and the figure was gone. Just an illusion, she told herself, shaking off the unease. Over the next few days, Jenny couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. In the dead of night, she would wake to the sensation of eyes upon her. Her curtains would flutter even when the windows were closed, and always, just at the edge of her vision, she saw shadows that seemed to move on their own. One night, unable to sleep, Jenny went downstairs to get a glass of water. The house was eerily silent, the only sound the creaking of the old wooden floors. As she reached the kitchen, she saw him again, the Hat Man, standing just outside the window. His face obscured by darkness, but his presence palpable. Panic surged through her, and she stumbled back, dropping the glass. It shattered on the floor, the sound echoing through the house. Her parents rushed downstairs, finding her trembling and incoherent. "They're here," she whispered. "The Shadow Man, the Hat Man." Her parents exchanged worried glances, but dismissed her fears as a bad dream. Yet the incidents continued. The shadows grew bolder, darker. Jenny's friends began to notice the change in her demeanor, the dark circles under her eyes, and the constant glances over her shoulder. One evening, Sarah decided to stay over, hoping to ease Jenny's fears. The two girls huddled in Jenny's room, talking about anything but the shadows. As midnight approached, a strange stillness settled over the house. Sarah fell asleep, but Jenny remained awake, her senses on high alert. A creak on the stairs made her heart race. She held her breath, straining to hear. The door to her room slowly creaked open, and there, standing in the doorway, was the Hat Man. His presence overwhelming, the darkness around him almost tangible. Jenny tried to scream, but no sound escaped her lips. The Shadow Men slipped into the room, their forms blending with the darkness. They moved silently, encircling the bed. The Hat Man stepped closer, his face still hidden, but Jenny could feel his gaze, cold and penetrating. With a burst of courage, Jenny grabbed the lamp from her bedside table and swung it at the Hat Man. The light shattered, and for a brief moment the shadows recoiled, but then they surged forward, enveloping her in a suffocating darkness. When Sarah awoke, the room was empty. Jenny was gone, and the only trace of her was the broken lamp and the lingering cold. The town of Greystone mourned the loss of Jenny Porter, another victim of the unseen horrors that lurked in the shadows. The elders spoke in hushed tones, sharing warnings of the Hat Man and his followers. And as the years passed, the stories grew, warning each new generation to beware the stalking shadows that moved in the night. For in Greystone, the shadows were never truly still, and the Hat Man was always watching.